how I do tests in this class, just so everybody understands. And it's kind of repeated. There's only worth two points. Okay, so even though there was a bunch of questions, overall it was only worth 2 points. So if you did really badly, it almost did nothing to your grade because it was formative and not summative. Okay, and I got to unfreeze or we can't see anything that I'm talking about.
I missed 0.6 points.
Okay, the other thing is not all questions are equally weighted, which you may have noticed. The points in the bottom, if there were 7 questions, but all of them weren't worth 1 point. The ones that were matchy were worth 2 points. The true-false was only worth 1 point, okay? And the multiple choice was only worth 1 point. Because if I'm asking you, like Nick said, if I'm asking you a whole bunch of stuff on a question, it wouldn't be fair that that's worth the same as a true-false, right? So just so you know, if there's a bunch of matchy stuff or something like that where you're answering a lot of things, it's not going to be worth 1 point. If you look at the bottom of the question, it says usually 2 or 1. It says what it's worth, okay? So what we usually do after we're done is we go and look at how the class did as a whole, and we look at them from worst to best, okay? So as a class, this was the most incorrectly answered question, okay? So the configuration of a PC is held in. The configuration is held in, okay? Configuration is what we can change. Okay? If we can change it, would it be in RAM or ROM? It have to be in RAM. So all the ones that say ROM, test taking 101, all the ones that say ROM, I should go, can't be that, can't be that. So, have we talked about AGP RAM? No such thing. It's a term Mr. Poole made up just to confuse you, okay? So the only other one, so the only two we've really talked about, BIOS is a program that lives on ROM, right? There's no such thing as BIOS ROM. So it's either CMOS RAM or CMOS ROM. The program is held on ROM. The data, the configuration, held by a small coin-sized battery, is the RAM. Okay, so that's the one we most got wrong on that one. So now you know for when we take the test. Because you'll see these questions again. Speeds of a PC, this was just matching. And actually, most of you got this wrong. Let's see how many people got this right. 79% of you got it right. Okay, so PCs are rated in hertz or a cycle per second. The higher the number of cycles per second, the faster the thing, whatever that thing is, so whatever that component is. Match the following with this. What is this a question of? Really, I'm asking you what?
Units.
Yeah, I'm asking you metrics. This is a metric question because you should know metrics, okay? So 1, I've already said what 1 was. 1 is a hertz, okay? So, and then we have to figure out what thousands, billions, and millions are. I said million starts with a M. So if I remember that from class, I should know that's the megahertz because it's 1 million. And I should know what 1,000 is because I run the 5 kilometer, right? The 5K, and a K is 1,000. Okay, kilo is 1,000, so 1,000 cycles per cycles is a kilohertz, and what's left is a gigahertz. And this is the same thing when we look at memory. Okay, it's a kilobyte, a gigabyte, a megabyte. Okay, it's the same thing, and you need to understand what those terms are, which is why I have questions on them early, because it doesn't behoove you to not understand metrics by the time we're halfway through the class. Okay, so I should know what these are. The 1 is whatever the unit is, 1,000 is kilo of whatever that unit is, 1 million is 1 mega of whatever that unit is, and a giga is 1 billion, and a tera is 1 trillion, although we're just now getting into terabytes. And okay, so that's that one. Let's see, anybody get how we did on this? We did better on this one, 87%, only like one person missed this one. It's the same question, okay? There are 8 bits in a byte, and then we're asking those units. 1,000 bytes is a kilobyte. A million bytes is a megabyte. A billion bytes is a gigabyte, and a trillion bytes is a terabyte. We're just now getting into those units of measurement for hard drives, or over the last year, I guess. And then, let's see, did anybody get this wrong? How do we do on this one? Oh, almost all of us got right. Okay, so one person got this one wrong. If you can't see what I'm looking at, by the way, it says right there, 5 out of 6 people got it completely right, but it's matching. So some people got one part right and one part wrong. Okay, so let's look at the parts of the motherboard without even looking at the drop down. So B, I'm going to start from the most important one. The primary job of the motherboard is to, remember that statement from last time? Primary job of the motherboard is to what?
Connect everything.
Okay, that's one of them. Okay, it connects everything to what? Right. Okay, so the primary job of the motherboard is to house the CPU and connect everything to it. That is a two-part statement, so you're right on both parts. So B is where the CPU goes. It's always right in the middle. It's always square-ish. Sometimes they're a little less square, but they're mostly square. Okay, so B is where the CPU goes, and the thing that the CPU's best friend is RAM or memory, and that's C, which is the closest thing to it. Okay, RAM is almost always the closest thing you can get to the CPU. That's by design, because these are the two things that talk together the most. So by minimizing the distance between them, they talk the most, the fastest. Okay? These things back here on the back of the motherboard are the what?
Integrated components.
Integrated components. Those are the things that are part of the motherboard. And then these slots here are where I can add other stuff. Those are the expansion slots. Those is where I can expand the capability of the motherboard by popping things into it and saying, ooh, now I've got a much better video card than I did before. Okay, those are the expansion slots. And we are going to learn more in chapter 4 about the different kinds of expansion slots, because you can see there's 3 different kinds here, and there's more kinds than that, which is where people make mistakes. From time to time, they'll go and buy a new video card and it won't fit, because you can see there's this kind of slot. These are both the same. There's that kind of slot. I don't have anything else out here, but there are different kind of slots you can go. Is that the last one? %. Okay. So, and I usually go through all of them, and it's just only a few questions. Okay. Which statement is most correct concerning a motherboard? Select the best answer. Okay. Tricky, Mr. Pooh. Okay, they're all correct. Okay, so the best answer is all of these are correct. It is the largest and most important circuit board in the computer. It holds the CPU where most processing takes place, and all devices are either installed on or connected to the motherboard. So the most correct answer is all of these are correct.
So the questions are like randomly.
Yes, all mine randomly. The questions are random and the answers are random. So looking at your next door neighbor and seeing they checked B will do nothing, because that may not be the same question, and even if it was the same question, it's not in the same order. Okay? So if you haven't had Moodle test before, that's part of the reasons I did this today. Okay, so parts of the motherboard match the following. Almost everybody get this one right. Just a couple little parts of it wrong. Let's look at this one. Okay. Components that can be added to a PC to expand the capabilities of the system by adding new devices to the motherboard. That would be expansion cards, right? Like the answers in the question. A green PS2 plug. Oh, by the way, I didn't bring this up either. A lot of times the answers of one question are hidden in another one. Okay? If I asked you in one question what the color of the mouse plug is, and in another question I said the mouse plug is green, the keyboard plug is what? You know, if you pay attention to your questions, sometimes they... Okay, so a green PS2 plug, usually found on the back of the PC, along the top with other integrated components, is what? Mouse plug. Okay? A plug, usually found on the back of the PC, along with other integrated components, that is similar to, although bigger than, a phone plug. Okay? That is a network interface. Okay, network interface. A small round green plug usually found on the back of the PC with other integrated components. Okay, so what's the difference between this one and this one? I specifically said it was PS2 here. Okay, so what's the other green one on the back of the PC? The other green one is our speaker plug. Okay, why do I need to know that, Mr. Poole? Because if we go and set up computers and we plug them in the wrong ones, then obviously they're not going to hear anything, and then we're going to go back when they say my speakers don't work.
Yeah.
Components that come on the motherboard when it is manufactured. Those are the integrated components, the things integrated on the motherboard. Small round pink plug usually found on the back of the PC with other integrated components is the microphone plug. And a purple PS2 plug usually found on the back of the PC along with the other integrated components. If I said integrated components enough on this slide, that you should know what the integrated components are. Okay, and that is the keyboard plug. Is that the last question? One more, and 100% of people got this right. Yay! The BIOS, or basic input output, is the software that runs when a PC is turned on. And then there's our segue into that. Does anybody have any questions on how this works? If you look at your grade, it did not change it a whole lot because this is a formative quiz. And on the formative ones, and I know I didn't say this when I talked about it, on the formative ones we don't use pads because I'm trying to see what's actually in your head, but on the summative ones you can. Okay, and I know I didn't say that before. I should have said that earlier. Questions on how the quizzes and tests will work? Formative quizzes, small points, just trying to see what you know. The summative ones at the end of the chapter, that's the one where that's really what your grade is. 90% of your grade is based on those things. Okay? Questions? No questions? Okay. Bueller? So you guys, if you don't, by the way, if I don't remember to, when we switch chapters, if your teachers in other classes don't know, this little line on the side is to highlight the section that you're currently in. There's just a little light bulb that I have to remember to click. If you're in any Moodle classes where it's really hard to tell where your stuff is, you might want to ask your teacher to highlight the section that you're currently working on because it makes it pop out, obviously, a little bit easier. Okay, so let's continue on with last class, and we basically last class we talked about the purpose that first of all we talked our way through the BIOS startup sequence, right? Yeah.
Recording.
I already am recording, so at least I think I am. Yeah, see, it says recording. See, so I started that early, so when I was still sitting there. Yeah.
When the BIOS starts the bootstrap loader, is there one spot it looks for it on the hard drive, or how does it find it?
Yeah, there's one spot it looks for on the hard drive. Doesn't look on the whole thing. There's one section of the hard drive that when we format it, that's where it looks right away. And that's when we go and install an operating system on the hard drive. That's the first thing it does is it sets up, there's a hexadecimal code for where it's at, but it sets up exactly where it says this is a bootable hard drive. In fact, when I look at my hard drives, and I've got 2 hard drives in my system, through the disk manager, one of the things that it says is whether this is a bootable partition or whether it's not, okay? So this one, right, I can't even see, where's my other one? I must be up. There's one more, okay. So this one is a bootable partition, and I can see the drives up here. Actually, I have them both set up, but see where it says system right there? That means that it's got an operating system on it. Okay. If it doesn't say that, now these are just actually these are maybe her. Is that her tablet that's still connected up here? But anyway, so the reason it says system partition is because it's in the beginning of that drive. That's how it knows. Now it can go and look at, you can have multiple hard drives with multiple operating systems. Like this one boots to either Linux or, that's what that other one was. I can either boot to Linux or to Windows, and it used to be Windows 7 and Windows XP and Linux boot system. So you can have more than one hard drive, and you can put the hard drives in order too. But the answer to your question is yes. There's one specific spot it looks for, and if you don't have the hard drive set up right in the first place, you don't have it partitioned and formatted right, which we'll learn about later, but it won't find the operating system there. And if that little section gets corrupted, that's what some viruses do. Some viruses, all they do is rewrite the boot partition, and it doesn't touch anything else on your hard drive. And then it's just doesn't work anymore. So all of a sudden I'll say no device. Okay, so we talked about we went all the way through the boot process up to the operating system. We talked about the purpose of the operating system, which is, I thought I had a pen chosen, there we go, which is to allow us to use other hardware and software. We talked about some of the operating systems. Where's my little list? specifically the three. I thought we had it on yours. Maybe we didn't. So did we only talk about the Microsoft ones? Well, let's talk about the other ones then. So we've got the Microsoft operating systems, and we worked our way through all those, and really we said anymore today. We've got Windows XP, and we got Windows 7. Vista really is gone. 7 was a replacement and a fix of Vista, but people are still using these two. And the question was, those were Windows Vista machines.
07.
Were they 7? Okay,
Yeah.
Windows 7 machines that I downgraded to Windows XP just so I know all the drivers are working here. Plus, they've got so much memory that Windows 7, they run much better than Windows XP, they ran much better than they did with Windows 7, but I keep saying I'm probably going to bring them back to Windows 7 just to try them, but I haven't got around to it. So we've got Microsoft. You guys are used to Microsoft, and then some of you, anybody have a Mac at home? No Mac users? There's a whole bunch of different, I'm sorry, I'm going to sneeze again, just like I did the other day. I'm going to blow my nose and see if that makes the... So we got a bunch of Mac operating systems, just like we have a lot of Windows operating systems. The one that you guys don't know about is one called Linux. And it is an operating system that Linux, a guy named Linus Torvalis took a mainframe system called Unix, and it became Linus's Unix or Linux. Okay, it is open source, which means that all the code is out there on the internet, and anybody could take it. You could take it and download it if you wanted to make Casey's Linux, download. She could download it and compile it herself or make her own version. And there are a bunch of different versions of Linux, and it is free, and it runs 80% of the web servers in the world are run on Linux. Okay, when people write viruses, they write them on Linux for Windows. Programs that run on one do not run on the other. It's a completely different design. So if I wrote a virus on Linux, on a Linux machine for a Windows machine, I'm not going to hurt it at all until I send it through my email to my person I don't like or the company or whatever. It's free. I already said it's open source. And because of those two things, there are tons of different versions of Linux out there, because different people can make tons of different versions of Linux. So we're going to play with Linux. In fact, we might do it today. This website lists all the different versions of Linux. Now these costs over here cost if you want to have them send you a disk, just so you know. And this is by download, the most downloaded, the Mint version. We use Ubuntu here for all of ours, Fedora, OpenSUSE, Debian, all these versions, and you can see there are over 100 different versions, are all ones that you could download for free and put on your machine. And did I boot this one up to Linux the other day in your guys' class, or did I not?
No.
I'm going to put my flash drive. The nice thing about Linux is it is, or it has many lightweight versions of it, which means that it can run on much less soft or much less hardware than Windows 7 does right now. So if you've got a machine that's a slightly older machine, that maybe like, it doesn't run so well anymore, I need to get a new machine, it is possible that if you put Linux on it, it would run just like it was new again. And we can test Linux with just the CD. I'm going to bring it up here with just this flash drive and you could play with Linux and see what Linux is like. It does run slower off of a CD, obviously, than it would if you installed it on your hard drive. The nice thing about it is it's got your browser just like normal. It's got all the Office stuff already pre-installed. You don't have to go out and buy Microsoft Word. It's already got a version like Microsoft Word, OpenOffice, installed on it for free. And if you install Linux on a machine, you're pretty much done. When I install the CD of Ubuntu on our servers, I don't have to install anything on it after that. Everything is there. So why doesn't everybody use it? If it's free, it would make your computer cheaper, because not everybody writes software for it. So your favorite video game would not work on Linux. But the core stuff, the stuff that we use all the time, does. So could you, I mean, this Android tablet is built off a version of Linux that they went and compiled separately and made their own version of it, and that's also the reason that when Google goes and makes one for a Samsung tablet, eventually it's going to get to all the other ones because it's open source stuff, and it's stayed open source so other people can use it. So that's just one of the other kinds of operating systems. Let's see if I can get it up here. And I don't remember if I set the boot order. Okay, so I'm going to get into BIOS with F2 on this one so that I can go and see the boot sequence. And I still got it set up right, so if this is the right drive, and it is, this is Ubuntu. That's for lightweight Ubuntu. This actually has less on it in this version. I'm trying to test on some old laptops to try to bring them back so that they can use them over in the elementary school. So the whole thing right now is loading off of the flash drive, and basically went through the boot sequence just like we've read about. It went to BIOS and said, where do I look for my boot device? And I set up, on this one, I set up USB device, and then CD-ROM, and then hard drive. So it looked at that USB device first to see if there was something there, and because I had one there, and you can see that's how long it took to boot, which is really not any slower than that laptop took to boot, maybe even faster.
Yeah.
I mean, really, realistically, it's probably about the same speed. And this is all off of that. I can go and I can open up the Chrome web browser if I want to. And if I want to install it, it's going to be faster. I don't want to do that. Skip for now. So the Chrome web browser, it comes pre-installed on this particular version. So you can go around. What I wanted to see was whether Flash worked or not, so I'll find out here real quick. Because I haven't had a chance to play with it like I'd like to. And it has Office stuff pre-installed. It's got a doesn't want to open up my. It's got a version of Word. This one doesn't have the full version, by the way, on it. Server error. The website counter problem retrieving. There we go. Okay, so Flash doesn't work on it. On this one, which makes this version one I can't use for what I want to use it for, because I want to use it for the elementary school, and I want to be able to get to Flash. So this is just one version. You can see there's over 100. And basically I can download those, I can install them onto a flash drive, and then I can test them as easy as that to see if I like them or not. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted us to get a chance to play with some BIOS settings and stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is play with the BIOS on our laptops that we have right here. So I want you to get out your laptop, and I want you to get into BIOS, and this one's not going to look like any of the other BIOSes that we've looked at. We're going to look at the BIOSes here, and then we're going to go to one of the computer labs and open up and go into BIOS there.